Welcome everybody to this meeting of the Central Otago District Council hearing panel. We'll get underway and record the apology of Councillor McPherson. I actually know commissioners we are at the moment. That's right, we're not councillors. Commissioner McPherson is unwell, so won't be joining us today. So it's just three of us. Do we need to remove that? Yeah, I'll move it. Tracy the second of it.
Yeah.
Over. Good, done.
Aye.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is to confirm the minutes of the meeting. Page 6, which was dated. The 8th of April and 10th of June minutes. So we'll just make sure someone was here for them. That was me and Ian. So maybe.
Ian.
Ian got the second one here. So I'll move. Ian, your second.
Yeah.
All in favour? Done. Thank you. Rightio, we'll move on into the first item on the agenda, 25.12.2, resources sent 24020240 Noel and Margaret Trevathan. I'll put the proper names in there.
Keep you on your toes.
Yeah. An application for a subdivision consent at 360 Ago Road Terrace. I'll ask the Minute Secretary to report on proceedings today.
All statutory requirements under Section 95 of the Resource Management Act have been complied with. The Section 42A report prepared by the planning consultant has been circulated to address the service.
Thank you. That's done. So the following procedure will be followed for the hearing. The panel may ask questions. Council's officers or its consultants will direct any questions, points of clarification through the chair, and the chair shall be deemed to be the person asking the question. The applicant or the applicant's representative will be invited to make submissions and present evidence. The Section 42A report writer will be invited to provide a right of reply following the hearing of evidence and submissions. And the applicant has a right of reply, but shall not be again permitted to traverse the evidence or raise new evidence. Before proceeding with the hearing, I ask that all parties hearing identify themselves.
Hello, I'm Maddie Albertson, planner from Patterson's, representing the Trevathans today. Noel and Johnny.
I'm Noel Trevathan, also known as Bo, and I'm really just sitting here, and Johnny, my son, has produced most of the work here and communicated with the so I'm available to answer any questions, should they be simple questions that I might be able to contribute something to. Lifetime's history in this part of the world, and I think sometimes history does get lost in a lot of things these days because it's being dealt with by people who don't understand, have not been a part of it.
Right, thank you. Johnny. Yeah, I'm Johnny. And just for the record, behind you on the screen is Ollie McIntosh, who's the writer of the Section 42A report. You'll be hearing from him later on.
Good day, everyone.
And don't mind his accent, it's okay.
The cameras.
And of course, Karen, to make sure that everything happens as it should happen, and our key advisor, Anne Rogers, to the right. Just to clarify at the outset, the Trevathans are very well known to me, and I can't do anything about that. So unless anybody raises some objection about my partaking in this hearing, we will continue. Applicants happy?
We trust you to be impartial.
Absolutely. And yeah, so Jill Gillespie, the chair of the panel, Tracy Patterson to my left, another fellow panel member, and Ian Cooney. So we'll be hearing the evidence and making the decision later on today. What do I do next? I think I'll ask for a motion that the Section 42A report prepared by the planning consultant be taken as read. Tracy moved, Ian second, all in favour? Aye, done. We've got your evidence. You can take us through what you need to take us through and
Fantastic. So unlike other non-flying subdivisions, I believe that the processing planner and I have come to largely an agreement about the best way to go through with this application. Probably the most prevalent thing that will have been evident through the processing is the changes that have happened to this application. So originally, when it was put out, we sought to comply with the district plan subdivision rules of an average of 8 hectares for the rural zone. Some would call it playing the averages game, but we were following the district plan to hopefully propose a rural subdivision that met Trevathan's needs for their land use, while also being appropriate under the district plan. However, National Policy Statement on Highly Productive Land has very strong and clear language about what is appropriate in terms of productive land and when it comes to subdivision. So following feedback from processing planner Ollie, we moved to amalgamate or propose to amalgamate a large portion of Johnny and Noel's productive land. The act of amalgamating or proposing all of that productive land being held in one block meant that we no longer complied with that 8 hectare average. It is then down to something 7.38 hectares average. And that then bumped the activity status of this subdivision to non-compliant. So the two key issues here are that we're trying to propose something that is consistent with the objectives and policies of the district plan, while also ensuring that we adhere to the guidance of the National Policy Statement on Highly Productive Land. And the result of that is the subdivision layout that you can see today. So what we have here is we have two very large productive blocks, Lot 1 and Lot 2. And then along Ardgow Road, we have Lot 6, which is the old family homestead, to be contained within its own block. We then have Johnny's house on proposed Lot 3. And then Lot 4 and Lot 5 are topographically quite separate from the productive Lot 1. And the proposal centres around, once a pivot goes on to Lot 1, it's effectively not going to be able to make it down the bank to Lots 5 and Lots 4. So they're not really productive or usable for their farming, and they're not easily able to be irrigated in a way that would benefit or create a large amount of productivity to be worth it effectively. So through the amendments to the proposed subdivision in response to the highly productive land, Ollie did raise further questions in regards to the appropriateness of the building platforms we've proposed on Lot 4 and Lot 5. The reality is, if we're creating allotments that are that small along Ardgow Road, eventually somebody is going to want to build on them. So let's just address it now and propose a build platform so that when they do eventually seek to build, it's in an appropriate way. So with that, on the other side of the plans, you'll see we've proposed a track design to get up to the Lot 4 build platform. This is located slightly further up the bank compared with Lot 5. Lot 5 is relatively flat and easier to be accessed. But Ollie wanted to ensure that the location for the track is appropriate, is able to be formed, and the level of cut and fill and digging is going to be appropriate in terms of the amenity for the rural resource area, as well as mitigating a large amount of the effects that come from earthworks. So the track design, this is what we've settled on. It meets all of the standards under the CODC subdivision guidelines for forming tracks in terms of its grade, batters and cuts, and level of earthworks. We have gone through a suite of conditions. So with Ollie's processing report, he proposed a suite of conditions. We've reviewed those, and with my evidence, I have submitted some amendments to those conditions. Largely, they are minor corrections and proposals for better ways for us to achieve the overall objective of what those conditions are seeking to do. And I think that's about it for me. Happy to answer any questions, however.
Thank you. Might be missing something. So the track plan is the third of the plans you're talking about?
Yes.
Which are the track for Lot 4.
Yes.
saying that lot 5.
It's not located as high up
Right,
as
okay.
lot 4 is. So to form a track, we're not expecting there to be any issues with grade or steepness.
Just drive straight up there now.
It's in Johnny's truck. I have done that.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I understand why it wouldn't go to that stage. Did you look at the option to play the numbers game and get the average to 8?
That's what we started with initially.
Yeah, okay.
And we did meet that.
Yeah,
and,
okay. Sorry.
No, that's okay. It was just the numbers game doesn't necessarily align with the highly productive land national policy statement. Yeah.
So what you're contending is the HPL has driven the design says to achieve these outcomes in this way, with 2 big productive blocks.
Yes.
That wrecks the average.
Don't quite make it, yes, because we wanted to limit the amount of titles overall created. So I think at this stage, we're looking at a net increase of 1 extra title from what we've started with.
I guess what you're contending is that to meet the numbers game is not going to make a blind bit difference to what's actually going to be seen and what's going to be experienced into the production going forward.
Absolutely. And the bottom line here is the Trevathans are seeking to undertake the subdivision to allow them to further the productive nature of their site. So the nature of the Ardgour Valley is vastly changing at the moment due to the decommissioning of the Lindisrace. Everybody is losing their irrigation unless they're putting in bores and pivots and other forms of irrigation. The reality of that is it is a costly endeavour to do that. So, but the reality is without doing that, the land won't be productive. It'll turn to dry land. Regardless of what the land use mapping says, if it is productive without water, it's just not possible. So this subdivision
What
will
do you
be
mean? It must be. Someone drew a map that says it can.
effectively.
I think your future will explain to you more about land without water.
Thanks, Bo. Right, okay, that's the extent of my questions. I have the benefit of being reasonably familiar with the area and the issues that go with it. Yeah, good to hear the logic that's been applied. I'll be interested to see what Ollie makes of that. Not giving anything away. I thought he might just smile, but he's not even going to give anything away, is he? Yes, I know, but I thought I might get some reaction, but it just didn't happen. Yeah, never mind. If you were here, Ollie, it would have been better. You wouldn't be able to hold your face like that. Tracy, Ian, any questions?
Yes, with regards to the location of the house, specifically the house on lot 5, the proposed
Yes.
location of where the building platform would be.
Mm-hmm.
That is very close to the pivot area.
So the pivot lines are represented. The outermost line on the circle going around the plan, that is the edge of the pivot arm.
Yep.
Not the base of the pivot. So we've ensured that there is at least not only vegetation, so trees within lot 5, but there will be a setback from the pivot arm.
Okay, and what about, have you considered noise from the pivot as far as a reverse sensitivity?
So we have agreed with Ollie's recommendation for a reverse sensitivity consent notice to ensure that the people building there are aware that it is rural.
Yeah, just in case the pivot goes up, one thing happens before the other.
Yes.
Yes.
So the 3 lines there, the very outside line is where the end gun would spray to.
Yep.
The second line in is the outside of the arm. And then the third line in is the actual wheel mark.
Thank you, Johnny.
Yep.
Sorry, my eyes are too old, but I can't read. Yeah,
Yes.
but
So the very,
Pivot arm to the end of the spray is how far? There's a measurement there that I can't read.
25 metres,
Really? Wow.
but sometimes that can be -40 in the wind too.
I was going to say, it's only going to. Yeah, in this case, but the southerly is not the prevailing wind up this valley.
No.
So that should be pretty safe. Yeah. Sorry, and forgive me, I am looking at my phone, but I haven't to put codes into this laptop to make it work again.
Okay.
So I'm not checking what else is happening in the world. Just trying to get something up and running.
And I note that from your evidence, you did put in the accidental discovery protocol.
Yes.
Is it in there?
Not expecting any surprises, but it's always good just in case.
Can you just explain to me what your I guess your thinking is in everything around that maximum building height of 7.5 by 7.5?
So 7.5 is the standard under the district plan currently. We had proposed to lower that, but in discussion with Ollie, this was where we had sort of settled in the washout of everything. We have had height poles up there, and while it is elevated from Ardgour Road, largely what is happening here is there is a large row of trees along Ardgour Road that provide great visual absorption. The reality is a 7.5 metre house would not be high enough to be 2 stories. So you would be expecting somebody to build a single story dwelling. Not many of them come to 7.5, and realistically as well, further consent, regardless of a building platform being there, will be needed for the plans to be checked by council to ensure they're appropriate for the site as well.
Sorry, just to supplement to that, the building platform is shown for lot. That it's not particularly not flat, is it?
Yeah, it's much flatter than lot 5 actually.
Okay.
Lot 5 from the south corner, sort of southwest corner to the northeast corner. There's 1.5 meters of difference there.
Okay. It's not huge. It's not huge. It's not going to be going into quite a sloping bank type thing. It's the contour is gentle enough that
You can push a mile around without getting a sweat.
that's good. You're sitting on a right on. What you putting one of them boys? Sorry, thanks. Sorry, guys.
That's right. And just obviously you talked, thank you for the that's being provided today. You talk about the water storage dam. Just wanted you to clarify that wherever this location of that dam is going to be, which is not necessarily the subject of this, it's not going to impact either of those.
You can actually see it on the plan. So see the word Dry Creek.
Yep.
Just to the right, there's a square with a few trees heading out to the south of it.
The pivot will just scoot past it.
Which map are you looking at?
The biggest map.
Forgive me, I'll come up. Got the big copy print out, isn't it? This lovely little.
There.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make you guys have fun.
There.
Oh, there. Johnny said to the right, and said to the left.
It's to the right of the word Dry Creek, which is south.
This one,
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
to the left of Dry Creek.
That's to the left.
I'm looking a picture up the other way.
I'm thinking.
Johnny's plan upside
Close enough, okay. What are we missing there? Looks like left to me.
Sorry, I've got it looking, so I'm looking from Ardgour Road back at the property.
The writing was all upside
Yeah,
down.
Johnny, you should know. You always look at a map north up.
north, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, right. That makes talking about mad here.
That's just, no. Okay. Okay. Just in the. Just wondering in the conditions, can you point out where, well, maybe I've missed it, just if you could clarify where that site, site specific soil testing will be undertaken at the time of dwelling construction. Is that, I could just, whether I've missed that?
So we have already done a site and soils drainage test,
Yep.
which was with the application.
Yeah, that was the that GeoSolve report recommends that site specific soil testing be undertaken at the time of the dwelling construction to confirm bearing capacity.
Right, yes. So traditionally, as there is a further consenting process to establish the dwelling on the house, at that point, a on-site wastewater treatment will be proposed. And we want to give flexibility to the future owners about what system they use, because it may be different what's suitable for each family, each size of house. So as part of the documentation with the proposed future wastewater treatment, that'll come with a site and soils test.
Okay, thank you.
Will the board provide the domestic and irrigation water?
No, each lot will have its own domestic bore.
There'll be no irrigation supplied
To the new lots.
to the new lots. The existing lot 1 and lot 2 will consume all the consented water that is available for irrigation on the property. And 6. So lots 4 and lot 5 are at this stage not being offered any water from the Lindis catchment other than domestic. Is that correct, Johnny?
Yep.
And the reasoning for that in a broader regional sense, just for information, is to seek irrigation water. You have to propose exactly what you're going to irrigate and how much water you need to gain consent. And we don't know at this stage what somebody might want to use those for. So we can't give them.
Is that a regional council requirement?
Sorry?
Is that a regional council requirement?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, for irrigation consents.
Things better change, I think.
Someone should talk to them.
Right. With the application for the Lindis irrigation applied for the application from the Lindis River, which went through the Environment Court and that 2 years ago. The existing irrigated areas were able to continue taking water from the Lindis River, directly from the river, but not the irrigation race system, so that the river system stayed alive. And so that's the reasons. In fact, lot 4 and lot 5 may, in my reckoning, at a later date, apply, put their own bore in and irrigate whatever they choose to do, because all this area was included in the initial application for the new Lindis irrigation. There are other subdivisions in that were not part of it, that are outside that area, and we're wanting to protect those who paid for the resource consent to have the new 35-year application for the Lindis, having the right to do it without others. And there are other interests other than irrigation also involved in the order of the Lindis.
It's not particularly relevant, but I'm interested. You might know both. The property between lots 4 and 5, 502 Ardgour Road, 4,000 square metres, and it's been around a long time. It's with the title 4C, so it goes back a time or two. Do you know how that came about? Something that small in the old bits of county?
That was the original house belonging. Now, well, let's go right back to start. It was this. There were 17 sections taken off Morven Hills in 1910. First was settled, I think, in 13 and 14, and they were only. This map does show them as being much smaller titles, and that the idea was to encourage a labour force to come into that part of the world. And each of those, that whole property was once 5 separate titles, which were owned separately. There was no water at all in the valley at that stage available, and some of them didn't even last. But they eventually got amalgamated up. That was the house of what is lot? That you can see the square lines on lot.
Crossing over lot 1.
Crossing over lot 1. There's another one the other side, and there was 3 or 4 down the river side of the road.
Okay, yeah.
And that was the original house, which was deemed to be surplus to the farm under the previous owner before I bought it, and it was sold under the 1 acre rule.
Okay. Which
So Vincent County allowed you to sell off a house with 1 acre of land. A very good rule. It should still be in existence today. And people could be building houses fast and selling off the extra acre.
is both. No, thank you. That makes sense. Just as it's always, as you do this role, you find these outliers. You go, how did that happen?
For the history.
But that's, yeah, and that's I had forgotten about the 1 acre rule, but thank you for reminding me of that. Nothing else? Any questions? And anything we're technical we're missing? Anything you think? Right. On that basis, then I'll now ask for our planning consultant to have this right of reply. Ollie, over to you.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks, everyone. I think I'll just talk very quickly about this. I guess Maddie's already talked about a bit, but the evolution of this consent, because on face value, it probably comes across as a bit unusual that a council officer has effectively steered the applicants from a discretionary activity to a non-complying activity. And just to really put that in picture, what the original application was, although it complied with the average, it sought, I can't remember exactly the number now, it was a handful of additional lots. So that subdivision would have resulted in more fragmentation, more lots than what we're currently seeing. Really, the reason why the average has gone up is because of that, you can't, any lot more than 16 hectares in size gets counted as 16 hectares. So what we now have is 2 very large lots that are only being counted as 16 hectares. Take that out of the equation and really the average has gone up. We've got less titles than what was being originally proposed. The applicant does get a net increase in titles through this. They do have that win. But in my opinion, that's very clearly balanced under this revised scheme by the regularization of those larger farming titles, which the status quo with those is that, the productive farm is already broken up over a handful of existing titles. So in my mind, what this subdivision is really achieving is taking those productive areas and really putting them into a consolidated title. It would probably be one consolidated title were it not for them being bisected by Dry Creek, and it makes sense to have really the 2 pivots either side of Dry Creek within their own titles. So yeah, that's that in the nutshell. I think happy to answer any more questions if that's not clear, but I understand it might initially raise eyebrows, but.
Thanks, Molly. Certainly from my perspective, the fact that the applicant and the reporting officer worked through the issues to say, well, when we get to hearing, we know what is seen to be the right thing to do, that's helpful for a panel. And I guess you just hope the panel listens to what you're both telling us and does what you want us to do. There's no guarantees of that, of course.
Of course.
It's a really fascinating parcel of land as far as the little offshoot to the side.
Yeah.
When you're looking at from a
Dry Creek.
topographical, beside Dry Creek. And I didn't notice it quite as much until you see it on the bigger map. This the long,
It's just here.
the long thin part down by Dry Creek. I'm not sure whether the actual fence line follows those actual maps, but it's
We toyed with the idea of gifting it as part of the condition, but there's no one that would actually want it, so.
And who knows, one day.
Sorry, in terms of that topography, you asked a question before, Neil, about the location of building platform on lot 5. So what you've got there is a very well-defined terrace riser coming into the north of the site, and that starts to peter out within lot 5. So that's the big difference. I did have quite a bit of concerns initially around the location of the building platform on lot 4 and what would be involved getting a driveway up to it. Fortunately, there's that little gully you can see within the terrace riser, which the applicant's done some good work coming up with a drive, a plan to put a driveway up through that will be relatively low footprint. Lot 5 has the benefit that you can simply come around to the west side of the terrace riser there, where there really is no terrace riser there. It's just a slope.
Well, thank you. Right. Applicant has the right to reply. Is there anything that has come up in our questions that you want? Oh, sorry, Ollie.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. There's one I just wanted to touch. I'm okay with all Maddie's proposed condition changes. The only one I have a bit of concern about is renumbered condition L, formerly K. It's the very last condition.
Page 7.
Oh, is that the vegetation screening, Ollie?
That's the one, yeah. It's the last condition before the advice notes. The proposed wording is if removed for any reason. To me, that seems very open and a bit contradictory to the intent to retain the vegetation. I guess, yeah, I just wonder if the panel might put the question to the applicant what they're anticipating might be the reasons for removing that vegetation, so that we might better understand that and perhaps come up with some wording there that isn't internally contradictory.
I think the key thing there that the panel's asking the question of to the applicant is saying that it's open. I don't think you're trying to do that. You're trying to say let's make it read better. Probably define what the reason might be or something like that. I'm sure you can consider that. You can either tell me now or you might want to talk to your applicant and pick up on the right reply.
Yeah, we absolutely were. This was the one thing we were anticipating talking to. The large reasoning for this is the poplars along Ardgow Road are reaching their best by date, and Johnny has lost a couple already this season. The reality is, after a certain amount of time, they get old and they fall over. They're also right along a road front. So for safety reasons, if they need to come out, I would not say it is a great idea to result in the future landowners having to go for a consent notice variation to remove trees that are causing potentially safety risks. So what we've proposed in the wording there is to ensure that whatever goes in will be comparable to a poplar, maybe not necessarily a poplar, but to enable, if for reasons they need to be removed, they can be, but they will be replaced.
So I think the easy way to say if the council, if the panels have a mind to grant the consent, some wording that might tidy that up.
Absolutely, absolutely.
No, I hear what you're saying, and especially when you mention the word poplars and you have a history of getting old and falling over.
Yeah, trees have a lifespan, and when they get old, they fall over. When we get old, we get buried.
Some people choose to do it.
Fall over first, usually.
Yeah, okay, cool. So, yeah, I don't think we need to go and clarify that. I think the Bonnie's made the point.
Yes,
We're
yeah.
talking about the same thing, and if panels have a mind to grant, we can find a way of determining what the certainty. Which I think
Yes, yeah.
as to what any reason might be.
We do
Just because Johnny wants to get some wood to make a barbecue, then that's probably not a good enough reason.
Probably not, no. The intention here is to ensure that the screening is retained, that it's doing its job in terms of mitigating those building platform effects, and that there is certainty in council's mind that that mitigation will exist.
Okay. Okay, you done now, Ollie?
Yep, thank you.
Cool. Anything else you want to then pick up in terms of the right reply?
Is there anything else you guys would like to speak to?
It's been extensively well covered in the presentation, so it's.
I think the benefit of working with the report writer is evident.
Yes.
Doesn't mean it's what the panel thinks, of course.
No,
But
no.
it says to us that saying, well, actually, people that are experts in this field believe that this is appropriate, so we'll take that into account, obviously.
The objective clearly here is to find a solution that enables this family to continue to use their land productively and to continue to keep the Argyll Valley productive and farming and rural, while also going ahead with this in a way that's appropriate in the eyes of the council and the district plan. So,
Thank you.
The pivots as proposed there, should a future landowner wish to do away with pivot and build an orchard with a totally different irrigating system, is this going to be tied into this application?
not in the current suite of conditions.
No. So
No. I think at the end of the day, it's about the productive use and that, oops.
Oh.
Sorry,
Still on the screen.
still on the screen, just to step my
Oh, there it
hands
is.
back. Yeah, okay.
Gone to sleep.
Yeah, well, it is only 8 o'clock over there, or is it 7 o'clock now?
breakfast must be
7.
Over here,
Yeah.
no, it's, we're 2 hours behind at the moment.
Oh, me too.
The recent changes in daylight savings really threw me because New Zealand and Australia changed. We both do daylight savings about a week apart from each other. So I changed twice in the span of a week.
Your choice. But yeah, okay, so that's happy with that. Okay, on that basis, I advise that the decision of the panel is reserved and the formal decision will be in writing and be available within the statutory period of 15 working days. In the event that release of this is delayed, the applicant will be advised of the delay, the hearing is then adjourned. Okay, let's move, recommence our meeting of the Secretary District Council Hearings Panel. Move to item number 25.12.3 RC 250169 and RC 220396 moving forward. Variation to NZ Cherry Court. This is a public convening hearings panel called for the purpose of hearing a resource application subdivision and land use consent at 112 and 144 of Cromwell. Ask the minutes here to report on proceedings today.
All statutory requirements under section 95 of the Resource Management Act have been complied with. The section 42A report prepared by the planning consultant has been circulated to address the service.
Thank you. The following procedure will be followed for the hearing. The panel may ask questions. The council's officers or its consultants will direct any questions or points of clarification through the chair. The chair shall be deemed to be the person asking the questions. The applicant or the applicant's representative will be invited to make submissions and present evidence. And then the 42A reporter will be invited to provide a reply following the hearing evidence and submissions. The applicant then has the right to reply, but shall not be permitted to again traverse the evidence nor raise new evidence. Before proceeding with the hearing, I'd ask that all parties appearing identify themselves. But before you do that, I'll tell you who we are. So Neil Gillespie, I chair the council's hearings panel. Tracy Patterson and Ian Cooney, commissioners today. We are technically commissioners, as opposed to being councillors today, because that's the way they've done it. Karen, you make sure we do everything. We get the admin of this thing right, and of course Anne, who is advisor to the panel, should we need some advice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Jake Woodward, Resource Management Planner. With me today, I've got Mr. Paul Croft and Jerome O'Sullivan from NZ Cherry Court Liza. And online, we've got Barry from Tonkin and Taylor, Geotechnical Services Engineer.
Cool. Welcome, everybody. Process how this works anyway, so that will go over that. I would ask for a motion that the section 42A report prepared by the planning consultant be taken as read. Maisie, Ian, all in favour, aye. Carried. Thank you. Oh, and just I should have said you weren't here at the start, but ordinarily counts. First would have been part of our panel today, but he is unwell, so you've only got the three of us. So won't affect the result, I'm sure. Right, hand over to the applicant to provide an overview of your proposal with the evidence you may wish to, and we have got your evidence, which is and that you take us through it in the manner you see fit. Jake.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sort of intend to keep it relatively brief and to the point, but this application seeks to develop two super lots within the Rural Resource Area 5, Shannon Farm. So initially, Shannon Farm, as you're all aware, was subject to a rezoning application under Plan Change 14 that contemplated 160 residential allotments. Subsequent resource consent was sought back in 2022 for 160 residential lots. Through that process, the geotechnical advice confirmed that there were some potential hazards that remained unconfirmed on two of the super lots. So that resulted in 151 sections being consented, and the balance being lots 1003 and 1004 being kept as balance lots and amalgamated or to be amalgamated with the wider O&L lands. Since that application's been approved, there's been some monitoring over the past several years by undertaken by Tonkin and Taylor in conjunction with Clark Fortune McDonald. And that information confirms that some of the key risks that were raised around natural hazards can be resolved or largely are basically a non-event. Through that process, Tonkin and Taylor has suggested a number of site-specific recommendations as it relates to development. Specifically, that relates to the management of overland flow path and potential debris flows, planning those into discrete specific channels. And then, of course, just some localised mitigation measures as it relates to actual physical works. And that includes things like specific foundation types and so on. So ultimately, both myself and Mr. McIntosh in a Section 42A report, we're both in agreement that the effects can be suitably mitigated for natural hazards. So this application effectively seeks to activate the remaining 9 lots as contemplated by PC 14 and the zone. So in terms of my evidence, very briefly, I confirm that I'm largely in agreement with the effects assessment undertaken by Mr. McIntosh, and we've only gone as far as just suggesting a finessing of the proposed conditions. I'll just briefly touch on those conditions now, and then I'm happy to take some questions. So first of all, we have circulated as part of my evidence, a full suite of updated plans, which are replicated, or replicating the original consented plans from 2022. Just simply revised to show the additional 9 lots. We've updated condition 1 to reflect those revisions. The condition 20 that required initially for the amalgamation of a number of the super lots, that's no longer required. Obviously, we're seeking fee simple title for the new non-residential allotments. So we're seeking to modify the amalgamation conditions under condition 20. In terms of the specific geotechnical conditions, we've just simply requested for clarity, just a reword of condition 21 EE, just to recognise that all of the mitigation measures as it relates to secondary flow path and any debris flows are concentrated to the access way and between property boundaries.
Yes, I'll have a cheese scone. Sorry.
Not a problem, Mr. Chairman. And then just very briefly, we've recommended an amendment to condition 21 FF, which requires further detailed design to be undertaken prior to QT4C. And also, lastly, we've also suggested a couple of changes just in relation to future consent notice conditions, primarily around one of the consent notices requires all hazard mitigation on the subject site to be maintained in perpetuity, which we fully understand. However, I've recommended in consultation with Tonkin and Taylor that should there be any modification to those mitigation measures as the site being developed, that there's a pathway for future lot owners with the correct advice or from a suitably qualified person, they can modify those mitigation measures, so long as the intent obviously is maintained. Otherwise, Mr. Chairman, the crux of the proposal really is just to bring in the remaining 9 lots that have been omitted from the original 2022 application. The application remains consistent with the underlying zoning for the Rural Resource Area 5. And as I mentioned, both myself and Mr. McIntosh are largely in agreement that effects, including landscape, traffic, servicing, have all been previously considered under that 2022 consent. So more or less treating this as a technicality, so to speak. Happy to field any questions from the panel.
Thank you. Yeah, it's an application that's looked complex and really complicated, but when you get down to it, you go, I'll put together and thank you. I have got a question, and this is me being really picky because I'm looking at the map because that's how I look at the where's it going there? And on the main maps, it's got RLA1, and it's got less than 1,500 metres squared. And I'm going, but why? That's the minimum. I'm being really picky, going, why less than 1,500 and not should be greater than 1,500?
Mr. Chairman, you'll be looking at the legend.
Oh, yeah, yes, yeah. Just through me because I just was trying to get rather look up what the allotments were. And I thought, what am I missing?
I think that's pretty much a product of what you were just saying before. Looks complex. There's a lot of moving parts. So there's been a number of little errors. I actually picked up on another error this morning on the plan, which the total hasn't been updated from 151, should actually be 160. But no, the reality is the Rural Lifestyle Area 1, the minimum allotment is 1,500.
So it should say greater than 1,500.
Should say 1,500, average of 2,000.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's all right. Just that doesn't make a difference, but I'm just going something that I just was looking and thought, well, at least I read something.
Yeah. Thankfully, pick it up now. Unfortunately, it wasn't picked up in 2022, but that's all right.
I didn't do that. Yeah, and I don't know if it's relevant or important, but if the panel does agree to grant the consent, whether it's something that needs to be fixed to be corrected or not, I don't know, but we'll work that out later on when we get down to that stage.
Absolutely.
Listen, I don't have any other questions. I went through it, and understand what's trying to be achieved and the work that's gone on to make sure that these are appropriate. So I don't know anything else. Panel? Question?
I do have a few questions. I just have to go through my book and all the pieces of paper. So sometimes I just may take a minute just to get through to the next bit. So,
Thank you.
okay. Where are we? Neil's just dealt with the lot size question that I had.
Oh, so it wasn't alone. Fine.
No, so that was all right. So just in relation to, you talked about condition 25 and from your evidence, I may have missed it somewhere in the documentation, but can you clarify for me why lot 174 was not included in that? Because I think there's it says in somewhere in here that I've just been looking at, that it actually it was to include it, but I'm just, yeah, if you could explain why 174 isn't included.
Absolutely, yeah. So this is in relation to condition 25, true. The following conditions of consent shall be complied with in perpetuity and shall be registered on lot 78, 79, 82, 83, 171 to 173.
Yep.
And 175 by way of consent notice. So 174 relation to the right of way. I might just quickly
And the reason why I ask, just so you know, is at in the 42A report, the proposed stormwater and debris flow mitigation, which is page 5 in that report, it does again there say, but there's at the bottom it says including, and it has 174 upslope bunds, and I'm just wondering if it's two different. So it's just, yeah, if you could just explain to me why it's not in there. I might be missing something, but I just.
Commissioner, you might have picked up on a very minor oversight, but we'll just have to clarify that. Just bear with me. I'll have a quick look at section 42 report in front of me. And so you were referring to?
It's page 5.
Yeah.
And it's the proposed stormwater and debris flow mitigation section. And also the one above, obviously, with regards to the debris landslides.
Yeah.
That includes 171 to 175. I just want to know what I'm missing here.
Yeah, why 174 not listed when it's in that same area?
Yeah.
Where the debris flows are. Yeah, for sure. What I might do, Commissioner, since we've got Barry online, is I might just quickly defer the question to Barry. Presumably Barry would have heard that question.
Mind you, he's there.
Just unmuted.
Yeah,
I did hear it. This is particular thing has been a source of omission and confusion given the number of lots and things happening. I think 174 should be included in our original report. We've got various lots. We've got 171 to 172, 173, 174. It's possible what I've got is that 174 isn't directly affected by local debris flows, but any material has to be passed between it and 175 and 173. So yeah, including it is probably correct, but I'm not sure I can give you a definitive answer right here. It would be something you'd have to kind of look at. Sorry, I'm not being very clear, but it need to go back through the logic and step through it, and I'm not sure I can do that in a minute here.
What we might do, Commissioner, is we'll look to just double check the final wording of that condition, and we'll have another look as part of our right of apply.
Uh, In relation to, and obviously and you've mentioned this, this is an extension, this is the bringing up to 160 lots, which was anticipated by Plan Change 14. Bearing in mind this isn't that application, has there been any thought given to protecting that 160 lot and that maintaining that as the number that remain within that parcel of land?
I suppose as part of this application, it was effectively just formality. We got to a point with the investigations in terms of all the work that Barry's done. So the timing was obviously appropriate to go ahead and get that title, particularly given it's part of stages 14 and 15. So we've completed the first several stages already. We're just waiting on our 224C application and our title for stage for the first couple of stages. So it's not far off. But if you're potentially making reference to the other application in any shape or form, or just purely in relation to this, no, I think ultimately it's the framework that's in front of us. We were conscious in terms of the design of the lots to maintain the 1500, and there's been a bit of rejigging to maintain that. The lots are entirely confined to the boundaries of the super lots itself. So we're able to obviously stick within the 160 as it is, while maintaining the minimum.
Okay, in regards to stormwater, there was some in the 42A report, page 12. There was some. I'm just wondering whether I didn't see that the section 22 was that. Sorry, condition 22. That wasn't put here. Is that just as read in that's staying the same? So that was from the section 42A report. So 22 remains the same.
Again, I'll bring up the so condition 22 in the section 42A report.
Yep.
That's a consent notice. So sorry, what's the specific of that question, Commissioner?
So there was obviously the recommendation which will include, but I didn't see that recommendation has been inserted into for those conditions. So the existing condition 22 to be changed. That's
there's some minor changes to condition 22 in terms of adding lots 167 to 175. Yeah, no, my evidence suggests that we accept those and that remain unchanged. Paragraph 27, I think it was.
okay. And the only other question I had, and this is because obviously I'm certainly not an expert in this area. You talked about the using a raised platform, and there was some recommendations from Tonkin and Taylor for some what would suit the PC2 liquefaction zones. Are you happy that would meet the requirements?
So the road platform is in relation to the debris flows.
Yeah.
The liquefaction side of things, that subject to the river or specific foundation type. But I'm satisfied that the conditions that myself and Barry have worked through should resolve any potential concerns or mitigate the concerns.
Okay, and the only other thing, just given there's going to be a bit of earthworks for various reasons, have you, and I may have missed this as well, I didn't see it, an accidental discovery protocol. And I know that this is not necessarily an area that is potentially has been highlighted by the plan, but is that something that you would consider putting in?
Actually, a conversation to have with the applicant, and I just need to revisit some of the heritage matters that were assessed at the time, particularly in relation to the waterways and everything. So I think as part of our right of apply, we can provide a response.
Thank you, that's me.
Libby? Ian, you know? Well, thank you for that. Don't have to answer this now, but I'm contemplating a right of reply that may be in writing. Those questions, or you,
I think at this stage, could we all touch base with Barry
yeah,
and have another look at that 174?
I think, yeah,
I suppose we have to get that condition right. So.
yeah. It makes it easier in terms of where we're going to, because I don't want to delay things, but I think it's important that don't feel like you have to make a decision on the fly today that could actually be coming back. Oh, guess what? We didn't get this quite right, because I get the complexity, and I would never criticise for these things that are coming through. But you know, with the complexity, there's always a risk that something gets.
Oh, our mind's in it now, so it makes sense to modify it.
Let's get it right. So.
Yeah, can I just have one further question?
No.
Sorry, just and it's just whether and this is paragraph 31 of your statement of evidence, and that's at 25D. Was there a reason why in the changes you didn't follow the Tonkin and Taylor, where they said the reinforced gravel rafts, ground beams, etc., and then you did, and it said or other such options? That's what he's suggested in that. I guess what I'm wondering is you didn't want to be restricted to just those things.
This is condition 25D, Commissioner.
Correct.
All buildings must be constructed using foundation systems capable of accommodating several systems, including
The waffle slabs reinforced, which is exactly what they've said. But after beams, there was an additional, and this is at page. It said. This includes the waffle slabs, reinforced gravel rafts, ground beams, or other options. Am I correct to presume you wouldn't want to be restricted by just those specific things if there was something more suitable to the site?
Yeah, so we've expanded on that condition, all other equivalent solutions. Yeah, I think sort of, I get the whole ethos of it.
Yeah, okay.
It's already there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was just my reading. Yep, okay, no, that's all right.
We did that, yeah, cross it, yeah.
Okay, just. Sorry.
No, thank you, Commissioner.
All good?
Yeah, I got that.
No, it's easy to do, don't worry. Many times. Right, on that basis, then we'll now pass over to Ollie for his got a reply now. Sorry, that's not working, so you got to look behind you if you want to look at him. He's ugly anyway, so don't worry about that. Oh, sorry.
I can hear you, Neil.
I forgot. Yeah, sorry. Thanks, Ollie.
He's confident because he's leaving.
Sorry, everyone. I'm feel like I'm leering over your shoulder there, but bear with me. I made a couple notes. I'll just scroll to. They made sense when I wrote them, but I just have to reread them now. In general, I don't have too many concerns with the proposed changes to conditions. With respect to, so Jake's paragraph 31, we're referring to condition 25A. My concern with that proposed change is how those alternatives would, I guess, what the process would be in reality for those. My concern is that seems to me as giving consent holders an option to make some changes to those mitigation measures in their own sort of vacuum out, you know, in a way that wouldn't necessarily be recorded in council's records, and that to me just raises a bit of a flag, because as we know, these sorts of things can lead to disputes down the line between, if somebody goes and makes a change to a diversion channel or something, and that doesn't quite work as anticipated, and the neighbours get some damage, and then council will be involved in that. And I'm just concerned that if this condition allows that to happen outside of an actual consent process. So perhaps if the panel could put that to the applicant, I'm not sure if that's how they were picturing that working, or if perhaps we just need to clarify in that condition that those changes would take place in the context of a resource consent for the individual lots. Might be the simple solution to that. Would you like me to pause there and you put that to the applicant?
Probably be worth pausing there. And I suspect that what you're saying, Ollie, is that to provide a modification to that process says chartered professional engineer, take the job done. Is that the appropriate way of doing it? And I guess that probably we're in a good situation that you don't have to answer that right now, because I think it would be useful to hear the feedback from what Ollie's raising and say, well, because I don't think it's an end of the world type thing. I understand the logic better, so you can either do it as part of this or with the right reply. But I hear what he's saying, and it's one of those things is that immediately you start putting in conditions that actually something else happened that's never thought of, and outcomes that could result from that could be, engineering great, but could have other implications. Some certainty. So whether you want to respond to that now or keep that with the bigger picture reply, which I think you've probably want to do. Your call.
We want to get Barry to make a comment to that, or because I guess ultimately
the key really is making sure there's a little bit of flexibility.
Yeah.
We can't agree a consent condition that's so rigid, and things change and evolve. Ultimately, it still has to be signed off by an engineer and meet the code and standards. So, my understanding of the change in the wording is to make sure that everything's fully compliant from an engineering perspective, because it has to be. But we don't want to create something that's too restrictive either. So,
I think it's
finding the right balance between the two.
Yeah, I think you've got right. There's the balance. So it's the common ground that says, well, you don't want to be so rigid that you can't, because what topography might do that no one's found until you start putting something in there to say, I've got this, now I've got to do that. Yep. Okay, I understand that better. Ollie, that address your question in terms of saying, well, it's about providing some flexibility going forward?
It does, and I don't have any objection to that intent. My concern's really the record keeping and where council gets involved in that down the line. So I'll put it to the applicant that some wording that, and maybe they can consider that in their intended in their right of reply, just to add into that such changes and engineering details must be included with an application for resource consent for the subject site. To me, that fixes it, and that's the likely time that's going to take place anyway when somebody's coming to build their house on one of the lots and make some changes. So
Jake's nodding, I think.
I think we'll I understand what Ollie's saying, and obviously by having the wording such that you can make modifications, it avoids the need for a variation to a consent notice. And as we can appreciate in recent times, varying a consent notice unless there's a specific, unless the resource management purpose of the condition is no longer being met, it's very difficult to vary.
Yeah.
And so currently the wording is very precise. You must maintain it in perpetuity, full stop. The subsequent or the following condition afterwards, 25B, sort of goes along the same lines of, well, prior to the issue of building consent, as you design something, the consent, the landowner shall provide geotechnical advice to the council, detailing the mitigation measures. So I think we could, I mean, we can go back and have a look at have a look at the specifics of the wording and just see what's involved here. What I am doing is I'm just quickly checking the controlled activity. Every dwelling in rural resource area 5, despite the fact that there is a building platform, requires a controlled activity resource consent. So I just want to quickly check to see if the assessment matters includes hazards, and if it does, then that might help Mr. McIntosh in the sense of, well, by applying for a consent for your dwelling, you need to show this information. But I'm not convinced there's anything in there. The answer to that question is this maybe got a lot of rules. Here we go. So exercise of control, landscaping, landscape loadings, rural character, rural lifestyle production areas. So it doesn't explicitly include natural hazards, but we'll just turn our mind to it.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing, and especially because other stuff has already come back.
Yeah,
That's part of it, and I'm sure that we can find through conditions a way of actually providing the flexibility that doesn't trigger something else that you have to go down another path, make it any harder than it needs to be. Because that's the key thing. Let's not make it any harder than it needs to be, and keep the certainty side for everybody, because that's important as well.
Probably one thing to be aware of is we probably didn't agree with the wording at all. We wanted it actually, the advice we had was actually to make it less, but we tried to work with what Ollie's prepared to make it happen. So,
and I can't say from a panel point of view which way we would lean towards it, but we get something that the experts, for want of a better word, like this is a good way of taking it forward, then that makes it easier.
Yep.
And if we can't, well then we come out and we make a call one way or the other.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Ollie.
Thanks, Neil. I got another question. It may also need to be thought about a bit more and answered in a right of reply, but I'd just like to take a minute to double check some ambiguities in the Tonkin and Taylor report, just to make sure we're getting all these conditions 100%. And I'd just ask that you turn to section 8.5, which is page 20 of the Tonkin and Taylor report. I believe that's page 541 of the agenda.
Excuse me. So second 8.5, Ollie?
8.5, page 20. Yep. So where it's discussing the need for raised platforms and other such measures for stormwater and debris flow mitigation, I note it specifically states the lots requiring consideration are lots 75 to 77, 167 to 70, 171, 174 to and 175. Where the ambiguity sort of arises for me is the specific recommendations in the dot points following it don't include lots 75 to 77. I picked this up in my conditions and I included those in my draft conditions. The applicant has, in this latest round, removed lots 75 to 77 again. And I think it would be helpful if the panel just put that to the applicant, what their reasoning is for that, and clarify this inconsistency, because I suspect there's a reason for it, and I'm just haven't quite got to the bottom yet of why the report refers to those lots and then they're not included in the mitigation. I realise that was a mouthful. If you want me to step back through any of that, let me know.
Can I summarise what I think you just said? In the first paragraph, it talks about requiring consideration of other lots that need to be considered. In the bullet points, some of those lots aren't in the.
That's right. Yep. Specifically, lots 75 to 77 are the ones I picked up on. And then so,
17?
and then if we, and then that comes across in the conditions as well, where
Barry speaking, yeah, I think I can try to explain that. That relates back to some of the questions about 174 being missing in certain places, I think.
that was what I was suspecting, yes.
Okay, so it's not terribly clear, and it probably would have been useful to produce some kind of a sketch or a figure to illustrate this, and maybe that's something we can do in the right reply, Jake. I'm not sure whether that's appropriate, but there's two separate issues in terms of stormwater and debris flow mitigation, and the first one is larger scale floods or debris flows or debris floods coming out of the northern gully, and in this case it's the northern gully and possibly what was called the western gully. So that's coming from higher up on the Pisa range and coming down and spilling out. So you've got a series of lots, which is let's say the 75 to 77 are on one side of that gully, and 174 and 175 are on the other side, and 167 to 171 are on that side too. So that there's a possibility of flooding there, and our kind of recommendation is elevated fill platforms if found necessary. But there's some work to do with the detailed design of that and what the levels are, what the levels might be. So that's just move people up away from the potential flood path effectively. And then the second part is local gully flows, which are smaller debris floods and debris flows that come down off the immediate slopes behind the lots, and in that case, in that local flow situation, lots 75 to 77 aren't included. And the place where I've listed nominally raising platforms nominally a metre above surrounding land is only for those 171, 172, 173 and 175, which have the possibility of flow coming down from behind them from upslope. And a good way to deal with that is to actually just raise the platform up, and material will go around you. And the another way to look at it is to do training works, buns or something similar, or and can make sure you've got paths to convey the flow down. So there's two separate things. There's these bigger scale that comes straight down the gully, and we've got houses either side, and then we've got smaller scale flows which are coming down from upslope of where the buildings might be. Yeah, and 75 to 77 is only in the larger scale where there isn't any specific height that they need to be at. That needs to be calculated as part of the sort of detailed design.
So I think sounds to me like it would be helpful to have something that said from geotech expert, these lots aren't required to have anything because of X, Y, Z, ABC. This is for clarity, and then rather than us listening, making it up.
Yep.
All that we've heard to say it's quite certain the expert says not required, because then I think the process becomes very simple. Why would we put a condition in place that's not required to be there? But more importantly, we've made sure that actually, and I'm not criticising the TNT report, but the anomalies that exist, that go, well, why not them ones, are answered. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I mean, yeah, Mr. McIntosh's concern is around why the lots missing. We'll point that out in the right of reply, and we'll collaborate with Tonkin and Taylor to provide a brief statement and just clarify and reaffirm the advice. Yeah,
Because if you give someone on the fly, or we go and do some deliberation and force something and go, well, what do you base that on? That's helpful, not.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We need to record it somewhere. Yeah.
That satisfy you, Ollie?
Yes, yep, no further questions. Thank you.
Yep, no, thank you. And thanks, Barry, for that. And again, I think it comes down to the complexity. You know, you look at this and go, this is pretty just a subdivision, not that hard. Yeah. So all these things that when the land was used for something else weren't relevant, now become quite important. You look at it and go, well, never knew that happened or could happen. Yeah. Okay. Any questions of Ollie? Thanks, Ollie. Appreciate that very much. So on that basis, now I can go back there for the right of reply. You may want to make some verbal things, but it sounds like you're going to say to me, we'll get back to you.
Oh, no, look, I think, Mr. Chairman, I think the areas of clarification are relatively specific, so I think we can just pull together something as quick as possible. Just fire it through to the panel. And Mr. McIntosh.
That would be helpful. I think we can go from there. And yeah, appreciate the complexities as well. Sometimes the level of detail and things, and probably picks up those maps at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
No, agree.
Well, I'm just disappointed Tracy found the same thing as I did.
Whenever you're dealing with more than 20 odd lots, there's enough moving parts and separate conditions that, you know, they've all got different geographical constraints, so
Appreciate that.
it makes sense to take it away, have another look.
Thank you. Okay, on that basis then, I can decide, I can't decide anything. I can confirm that the decision of the panel is reserved and the formal decision will be in writing and available in the statutory 15 working days. In the event that delays, the advise to delay, the hearing is now adjourned.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate that.
Guys.
Thank you.